actually part of the area of international. I'm working in the team of Wagner in the church, and we make week by week our thinking, how can we support those community and integrate them in our church. Actually, I have a secret to tell you why I got involved with translation in the first place. I'm the kind of guys who cannot keep quiet during the preaching. I'm always talking to the person next to me, so I thought better it be useful for something. So that's how I started with French originally. No, joke apart, is some kind of truth, but never mind. I really want to share with you what really keeps me up at night, often late at night, doing some translations, some coordinations, reaching to you guys, and what keep at night most of our team as well. At the very first founding event of the church, the Pentecost in Jerusalem, this amazing Peter, having experienced the resurrection of Christ, is so excited about it, appears that in town are a few 100,000 Jews for the entire Roman Empire and around. And he comes up on the stage and he starts preaching in Aramaic, if I understand correctly. Now, Aramaic is a local language around Israel, Syria, Jordania, like our Swiss German here. And he starts preaching this amazing first preaching in the church. Now, some people are there, and they actually, maybe just understand a few words of Hebrew. They are here for the atmosphere, the party. They don't understand what this guy gets. He gets pretty much interesting, he's excited, exactly like Wagner before. How do I get it? And a miracle happened on that day. And we can see that in Acts 2. Aren't all these people who speak Galileans? Then how is it that each of us hear them in our native language? We hear them declaring the wonders of God in our own tongues. Amazed and perplexed, they ask one another, what does this mean? I love this. I love this. Because that is exactly what we're doing in the translation ministry. Let me just explain. That was a supernatural speaking in real language, still exists today and is available to the church. But I believe that to us as a translation team, God and the Holy Spirit give us this mandate to do it through our technical means. And what I found amazing is when I started originally to translate to people, we didn't have a permanent French translation at that time. And I was sitting next to somebody, we sometimes do that, we sit next to people with our headsets, and that person says, are you going to translate to the whole preaching, word by word, just for me? I said, sure I will, absolutely. You deserve to hear this preaching and understand it 100%. And I have many people who come to me and says, you know, in Switzerland we have to integrate foreigners, they all have to understand German. And I'm maybe a little bit direct and rude, but I said, give them a break 1 day a week. They're doing this the whole week, and we're pretty much high standard here about integration. If they come to our church to learn German, and they only understand 60 to 70%, it is not enough. It is not enough for their heart to be touched, for them to start to walk with Jesus. And basically our mission, our vision statement, is to bring the message in your own mother tongue so that people speaking it will feel welcomed and have the desire to be part of our Christian community. At the same time, they will be able to clearly understand the gospel in their own language. Our goal is to be a global family, together in one service, together in one room, like we have the connecting zone after the 5 o'clock service, yet they are comfortable in their own culture. And this varies by culture how that functions. And something that I really love to say, as Wagner is saying, this I think is extremely important. To the people you are translating to, you are the preacher. They see they are on stage or whoever else is preaching, but they hear you. You are the preacher. You're not writing the preaching itself, but you are passing it on. You are connected to the same Holy Spirit. You are a co-preacher. And we'll talk about this probably on the translation later, but people who are at the back of a dark cabin, in fact, they are right here on the stage, next to the preacher, emotionally, in their ministry and spiritually. So you have this great privilege to be a preacher to the people group you are serving. So let's have a look a little bit at what we have at the moment. We were talking about those 9 languages, so let's see how it looks. We have permanent languages. It's language available every week in our church. English, Spanish, Portuguese, German. You can see the number of the countries that are spoken and the people who speak that languages. You will see how it sums up afterwards. Pretty interesting. Next one, we have Italian, French, Farsi, and Mongolian. That's what we have every week in this church. And that is an amazing blessing. We have an on-request team, not used as much as we would like it to be, where we have people lined up and available to translate. We ask people to request it before so we can organize it. And this touch Arabic, Mandarin, Hindi, Korean, and Tigrinya, and more to come. Now, this means that with 2 hours notice, 3.6 billion people can turn up in our church, here in Zurich, 46% of the world population, and hear the gospel in a language they can understand loud and clear. If that is not reaching to all nations, I don't get it. And that's just what we are doing at the moment. We love to have Russian and other language. I'm sometimes at the info desk and I have people coming and ask for Polish, for Russian. It's a reality. Those people are walking in our church and says, hey guys, can you help me with my language? Pretty amazing. The movement itself has churches in 7 languages on stage. And you can see the list of them. And we also have, so this is the native language of the churches in the movement, 7 languages. That's maybe what Helen came up with, yeah. Next one, we have a few churches that we have 3 additional language translated in the movement as additional language. So the movement as such is expanding the level of languages almost month by month, and this is really, really amazing. And we can add Russian and others probably to come soon. But something I would like to share and expand on what Wagner was talking about, just translating at the service in your cabin is not the whole picture. It's good, it's the base foundation of what we do, but it is not the end of the story. People are touched in church. You can see the whole list. I try to listen what we hear week by week of people being touched. Not just by the preaching, they are touched by the worship, they are touched by welcoming and greeting and so on. And what we have learned in the next one is that from what the Mongolian, Iranian and others do, is those guys, they are right at the foyer downstairs, waiting for their guys to come at the door. Sometimes they're even outside the building to welcome them. They welcome them right away. And they said, great, you are here. Then they jump up to the cabin to translate. They actually go down and bring them to the meal and bring them food and answer their questions and connect them to people and said, hey, tomorrow we have a small group, come as well. And I had the privilege to be part of that first Mongolian small group. And that truly amazed me. That's not translation anymore, that's beyond that. They had a group in a Mongolian way with the hospitality, the sharing, and the fellowship adapted to these people. I think about half, 40 to 50% of those coming, never been to a church before. They came because it was a Mongolian event in a Mongolian way. And when we were at the end wanting to pray for each other, we realized some don't even know what prayer is. So let's spend 2 minutes to explain. I've never seen that before in a small group. And this is taking the nation, adopting the nation. And I have many people who come to me and say, Joel, can you bring people from my nation in the church? I said, we can inform that your language is available, but we can't bring the nation. This is your job as a translation team, to go out, find where there are parties, make many parties here. Like Wagner is doing salsa, Latinos party right in the church to say to people, guys, we have your language, we have fun in your culture, we are relevant. So be creative, go and bring the church out so that people can come in and then you can welcome them with all the translation and all the technicalities that we have right here. Now, what is next? We're not going to stop there, obviously. What is next? We want to add more languages in Zurich. We are limited with our 3 channels on some services, but we are thinking week by week, we're looking at statistics of languages and trying to expand them. So we'd love to add more languages as we can. We want to support the churches in the movement with our experience, and so that every ICF church can also have the option to do that. We will be doing 2 trainings a year. This one is one of them, and one in spring as part of a larger training. I will inform you guys about this. So we want to really give you the tools and the experience. We kind of always face the same issue. You will hear of the training later. So we'll do this on a regular basis. We always need more people. The teams are all struggling. Some people have to do translation pretty much every week themselves. So we always welcome more people. And in more languages and in the existing languages. Now we have probably pretty much to 50 people. And most of them are in the English-speaking team that needs to translate every document we use for the whole movement. And this is an enormous work to be done. We also want to organize our entire administration, so the storing and the library of all the documents. And for that, I'm doing this at the moment. It's an amazing work. It's a lot of work. So, of course, we welcome people to support in this area as well. And you will see why we need this in the next point. Now, the best is yet to come. I think I've heard this sentence somewhere already. We have the idea, we have a text, like in a brief text about Inside Jesus in short version. Why don't we translate it in every languages we can? 20 languages, 25 languages. So if somebody is an Afghan-speaking person, a Russian, an Arabic, we can give him, in a printout form, the essential of the gospel in his language. What about that? We also have the idea, and this is where the training and the quality improvement will come in the picture, to record the translation we do here in Zurich, or actually even other churches, so that we can mix the video podcast, as you see it today, with the cover of the language, French, Italian, and whatever, and then release them as additional podcasts. So actually we could go out as podcasts weekly on the internet with our 9 languages, for example, every week. And if you think about Farsi, for example, we could touch a whole nation like Iran. We could touch France, we could touch Italy, just by doing our normal translation, week by week. This is amazing. We need a bit some support and resources to do that as well, of course. It doesn't happen automatically, but this is a possibility we see. So we want to get better at doing it, better quality. We work on the technical things in the background as well, so we can enable those nations to be reached. The Big 15 coming in June next year in the Hallenstadion, huge event. Now, we not only have to serve the people, now 9 languages we have right home, 2 of them will be already on stage, but we will have church like the one in Holland, like the Albanian song coming and doing also translation to their people. So my request to the organization team would be give me as many technical support as we can to go out maybe with 9 to 10 languages translated at these events. So those people can really be part of our movement in a big way. Another idea is any church, any language. Just imagine a French-speaking person turning up in Belarusia. Okay? Okay, he will probably have at some stage an English translation, but doesn't work too well, let's say, for him. So they can go to the website, the resource website, pull the preaching notes in French, and give it to the person. And they can direct them to the podcast in French for that language. That person can watch it maybe the next day. So we could have any language, any church, through those resources. And basically, this is the exciting thing we have, going from our 1 or 2 languages we had 2 years ago into preaching to the nation right from this church, so that our church here in Zurich can be a blessing to the nation at home and in the whole continent.